Hey, what's going on, ISM? We're here with another Tuesday talk. We've had a plethora of different people on with us, but today we are joined by the one and only Gibson Bell. He is my brother, my favorite brother. And so, but joined by him, he is a senior this year in high school and planning on pursuing ministry, um, whatever that looks like with him. And so, super excited to have him on as my brother, but also an awesome man of God, young man of God that God's really using him and working through him. So he's also, another title is best man at my wedding. So that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gibson, thanks so much for being on here, man.
Yep, anytime. I love this. It's gonna be fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
So we wanted to kind of take this a little different today with our Tuesday talk. We've talked to a lot of pastors. We've talked to traveling speakers and youth pastors and campus pastors and DYDs and different things like that. But I kind of wanted to get a student's perspective of what's going on here, especially with you being a senior. Like senior COVID, like things have like COVID's really done a great thing.
Yeah.
in ruining a lot of senior
New experience.
So what is it like, right now? What's it like for you being a senior going through all this stuff?
So this is my first time like actually doing online classes, and I've always been like a pretty hard procrastinator, so it's been very difficult for me. There's like I have finals this week, and I still haven't really started any of them, so that's gonna be really good for me. Otherwise, let's see. It really stinks for me because I really built up my senior year to be like the pinnacle year of all of school, like sports and all my extracurriculars. So whenever, they announced school was stopping, then I played tennis in the spring and I have a choir. Those were like the two biggest things that I do at school, and those both got canceled. Just completely flat out got canceled. I was doing, I was really working up tennis this year, and I was practicing a lot, and I was hoping to go to state possibly, but that unfortunately couldn't happen. And then for choir, I was working on some solos and ensemble songs, and then those both got canceled. So like, I spent a lot of hours like getting really good to play tennis and getting really good at those songs, and worked with a professor actually with one of the songs for my solo. And I just felt, and then whenever they canceled it all, like I felt like all that time was completely wasted, which really stinks. But at the same time, and then also, I'm really sad that we don't get to do the choir concert, because we were gonna, you were gonna come down, and we were gonna have the awesome choir concert. And every year for choir, what we do is have all the past alumni from the choir. They get to come up and sing the last song, "The Lord Bless You and Keep You," at the end of the choir concert, and that's always my favorite part of the concert. And this year we were going to have you and Cora, so our entire family, and we were all going to stand up there and sing together. And I was hyping that up so much, and I was like, I'm going to cry so hard. I'm just going to like hold my family and be like, I love you guys. But then we never got to have that. It really stunk.
Yeah.
But so I got through that though. And then one day it just all hit me, and I was like, wow, like I don't get to do any of that stuff. Like, but then also I like figured out, for a lot of seniors, I feel like they defined why they care so much about the quarantine and not being at school, and how it's like it's ruined their lives, quote unquote, because they've defined themselves in the high school, and they've like based their entire identity off of what they do out of their high school, instead of basing what they do, out of God possibly. So like for me, most of my identity rests in my church and in Jesus. So like most of my friends are at church, and the people that I want to hang out with. And I don't have a lot of school friends, so I wasn't super worried about not being able to see them anymore. But I feel like it just affected me a little differently than most probably high school students and seniors. But
Yeah, that's really good, man. Just to sit there and say, my identity is not wrapped up in what I do in high school, what I do in school, or even in what I do. You could very well sit there and be like, I'm a tennis player, and now that I can't play tennis, I'd have no identity. I don't know who I am.
Exactly.
So that's that's really good, man. What are some things, kind of to transition into that and lean into that? What are some things during this time? I see you serving at James River with the food. They did a big food giveaway this past
Yeah.
weekend, different things like that. So what are some things that God's really been working or you've been growing in God with, right? Because I'm sure that there's some areas of your life where you're just like, man, like this stinks that I can't do these things, but I'm not going to let that define who I am. I'm going to let God define who I am. So what has God been doing in your life during this time?
So I feel like God's been just working in my heart like everybody else. I'd say that I'm being challenged just to find like more of my identity in God and just to define who I am more and define my day by day by what I'm doing with Jesus and how I'm loving and serving Him. So it's really hard because being home alone, I got really nothing to do. So it's either like, I can sit here and watch TV all day. I can do some homework, or like I can actually sit here and like really focus on my relationship with God. And it's been difficult throughout the days to figure out that balance that I want and the balance that I want and the balance that I'm actually doing. And like the balance that I'm actually doing is not what I want. And like I want to become a better man and a better Christian, but the day by day and the minute by minute is really hard to figure that out and figure out the balance for that. So like there was one week, like the first couple weeks of quarantine, I was really getting into it, and I was like reading my Bible every day, praying all the time. I was getting like really good, and I got into that system. And like every time I woke up, I would go make a pot of coffee, and then I'd sit there and I read my Bible for like an hour, and it was great. And then just one day I got off, and then I've been off, off and on it ever since. So I feel like that's hurt me, but I know God's, been working in me, working in my heart during this time, challenging me just to understand the relationship with Him more and understand that it's more of a day by day choice instead of just the one time, like, hey, I'm going to love Jesus. And then you kind of forget about it and then just go off and sin. So for me, it's more of a, wake up every day, understand my sin's already forgiven and that I can rest in that fact. And then I can love Jesus and love the relationship that He has given to me and that He has what He has given for me. So yeah, that's probably that. I've also been serving a lot in the church, which is super fun. So I work in the cafe at South Campus at our Ozark campus, not or just at our church. So we go to the South Campus in Ozark, and they do bags by the bumper, where the members of the church will give out different groceries and stuff to the church for us to then distribute to the community. So we have to sanitize all that stuff, and we got tables on tables on tables of all of this groceries and bags and everything. So I spent 5 hours one Monday just completely sanitizing everything with Clorox wipes. So just taking stuff out, sanitize it, and then bring it over to our storage room and sorting it and everything. So that's really fun. And then our outreach was really great. We got to prep hot meals for people in the community and hand out groceries to them. And Convoy of Hope worked with us, and we got to help. I think the numbers was around like more than 1,000 cars that we got to help at all 4 campuses. So that was really cool. It was really good community outreach that we just got to help a lot of people in Springfield, give them meals. It was a little stressful trying to make all those meals and get everything together and stuff it all in the bag and everything, but it was definitely worth it. And I know that the seeds that were planted that day are definitely going to help out the kingdom. So I love knowing that my work that I'm, what I'm doing in the church is going to go to someone's eternal life.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. That's awesome. That's so cool. What's for you graduating and planning on moving into James River College and whatever that looks like in the future, different stuff like that. Hopefully SU Ohio. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I hope so.
But for you, what is just kind of describe your ministry journey, like how you were called or how you felt the call of God on your life. Sometimes I think you and I have been, we're different than some people that are like, I was called at the altar, kind of thing, where it's like God just told me you're going to be this, kind of thing. Is like, and I'm going for it. And then there's other people like me, you know, that would sit there and be like, I was never really like audibly called, like go and be
Yeah.
a pastor. You know, it's just
Yeah.
been, you know, that's just been a journey for me in my ministry. So what are some things, you know, what's your ministry journey look like, you know, in the past couple years to sense, you know, the call of ministry on your life, but then even, you know, to pursue that and figure out what you want to do.
Yeah. So for me, I really felt like my calling was for ministry back in like 7th grade. So you were interning at the youth at James River, and I got to be in the church more, and we started getting a lot more involved, which was really good for me. And during camp one time, I was just, you know, chilling out at the altar and stuff. I was like, you know, really pressing into God, really trying to figure out what my calling is, trying to be like baptized in the Holy Spirit. And um, so I was just trying to figure out like, God, is my calling toward youth? Is my calling in ministry? Is my calling in business? Is my calling in somewhere else? Like, where do you want me to go? Use me as you want to use me in 7th grade. So then coming back from that camp, just kind of like during that camp, during the altar calls and everything, I'd go out and do that. And then every night I kind of just like settle down and be like, you know, like all in all, I'll just go into ministry because there's no harm in that. And that way I'll be pursuing the kingdom, and that way I will be just pressing people on to love Jesus and to know Jesus. And even though I didn't like feel like that audible call, it was like, you know, hey, you need to be doing this. Hey, you need to go do this ministry. You need to go this place. I never really felt that, but I did feel that, you know, I'm always at peace whenever I think about my calling in ministry. And I'm always thinking, there's not really been any other career choice that I thought about that was really big for me, that was really as stable as I feel like I would be in ministry and have the abilities to show love and share Jesus with others, like ministry would be. So that happened in 7th grade. And then moving on from that, I would say just every year it kind of just solidified more and more. And that I just knew I wasn't really sure which specific form of ministry that I'd want to be in. So you were in youth, and I was like, you know, youth is really cool. I love youth. And then we'd volunteer at the kids camps every summer. So I loved kids too. I'd never really seen the like main pastoral side or associate pastoral side of the church yet, but I would, you know, I'm not really sure where I'd specifically want to be or need to be, but I feel like just being a main pastor or being in the working with adults is probably where my calling, I guess, would set, because I'd like to talk one-on-one with people a lot, which isn't not set by age, but I'm going to go for James River College. My practicum that I'll be doing is going to be counseling. So I'd like to just learn about talking with people one-on-one, learn psychology more. It really interests me, and just be able to help people where they're at and help them mentally and physically and spiritually, emotionally, so all the things. So not about physically. I won't be a physical trainer, but so you know, just feeling at peace with my calling, feeling at peace, just going into ministry, I think is the one thing. I remember our former youth pastor, Pastor Chris, one time, he was talking about his calling whenever he felt it. And he said that he never felt an audible calling to be a youth minister or go into ministry at all. He just prayed one time and he said, God, if this is my calling, never take away my passion for it. And then when I heard that, I was like, all right, I need to pray that. So I prayed that right then. And I said, God, if you want me to go into ministry, never take away the peace and never take away the passion that I have for ministry. Never take away the passion that I want to share you and share your kingdom, share your love. And, you know, since then, I've never really second thought about my career choice, about my calling. So yeah. And then going into that, through my calling to be in ministry in some form, I've chosen to go to James River College and study under a lot of great pastors and talk with them and get ministry classes, go for a degree in church leadership or theology. And then after James River College, I plan to go possibly to SU, Ohio.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. It's an awesome school. And then study more about ministry and business too. So
Yeah.
I'd say that's probably my calling. I don't know
It's good.
about it.
Man, it's cool to sit there and say, if it, that's a lot like, you know, both of us have kind of, both of us obviously have the same background because we grew up together.
Family.
We're family, but
Funny thing to do that.
just that understanding of, even with Cora being called into ministry, all three of us having a ministry calling on our lives, like that's not a natural thing that happens, right? There is definitely something supernatural about that, to have, this dynasty of future pastors, coming up. But yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's so cool to pray the prayer of, God, if this is really what I'm supposed to do, then make sure that I never lose that passion, make sure it's always a burden on my heart.
Yeah.
That's because we can sit there and look at the world and say, man, there's business over here. They're making way more money than pastors do. So we're going to go do that. Or, we can serve, not saying that, being a business person or whatever is bad, but there's a lot of different things that we could be like, I'm really passionate about making money, or I'm really passionate about, fill in the blank, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But for us to be passionate about the kingdom, especially for you to be passionate about the kingdom, and as passionate as you are at your age, to sit there and be like, I just want to do whatever God's got me to do. That's so commendable. And that's awesome, man. Like that makes me a proud big brother, in that moment. So, so a few questions, remaining here. What is some things for you? Like, what are some places in your life where you're just like, man, like this is what I feel like God is growing me in, or I'm growing in this. What are some aspects of your life that you're like, I'm working on it, like God's working on me with this? Maybe it's like patience, or maybe it's whatever that looks like. So what are some things in your life that you feel like right now in this moment, in this time, God is working on your heart in, like, specifically?
That's a good question.
I've been known to have a couple of those sometimes.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of thought recently about what kind of mental state I want to be in and how I want to handle situations. So I feel like, I'm not sure if that's like God placing it on my heart, but I'd like to be a man that does not react quickly to negative situations and that does not react emotionally. So I'd like to be, kind of calculated in what I do and be able to understand the multiple sides of things and understand situations more than just being able to look at it, see something negative's happening, and then, move out of emotion instead of moving out of a heart of love and set mind and a sound mind. So for me, I've just been praying that God, kind of sets that in my heart and helps me to think clearly and have wisdom and to have peace about situations and to understand, see through him, see what he's doing, see how God wants me to work in things instead of how I think I need to work in things, and see how I should react in that time and how I may want to react, and how, the difference between how I want to react and how I should be reacting.
Yeah.
And to understand that I think it's a big deal, and I need to work on that probably more. So that's for me. And then also, I would say, without being, because since quarantine, we're not allowed to be like around our friends a lot. So I feel like for me, it's really difficult because I'm an extrovert, like really hard extrovert. So I love to be around my friends, and I love my friends. God's given me amazing friends this year that I've really connected with at my church. And it's been very difficult not to be able to hang out with them. And I feel like God's also been just working in me, and he's saying, like, to be stable without them and be stable without my friends, and to not really need them in everything that I do. Which kind of hurts to say because I really like my friends and I want to be with them, and but I need to define myself as myself and define myself in my relationship with God instead of my relationship with my friends.
Yeah.
And through being this guy's friend, being, this guy's bro or something like that. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. What are some things, that's before we go on the next question, that's so good to, to look at that. And even, we're very opposite in that, where I'm pretty introverted comparatively to,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's like for me on my side of things, it's like, man, I'm an introvert and now I have to like figure out like how to not be comfortable with only being alone all the time, kind of thing, where it's
Yeah.
like sometimes on that side of things with introverts, it can become a comfortability where it's like, yes, no people, kind of thing, where it's like, but now even I think the most, extreme of introverts, which I'm not necessarily that extreme, but I think even in this time, it's like, okay, I'm ready to see somebody now, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
so definitely
Definitely true.
that's good though, having your identity wrapped up in, I mean, this whole conversation, that we've been having is really like, is your identity wrapped up in your purpose and what you're doing,
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
or friends or whatever that is. So that's so good to sit there and say, hey, in all of our, Proverbs 3:5, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him, he'll make it pass straight. Just that kind of that understanding of things where for us, man, we're just going to acknowledge who we are in him, and us being a new creation. So that's so great. For any students out there, you're a graduating senior, you're heading off to ministry school, and all those different things. Um, what's some advice that you would give to students that are, that are just, just students, whether they're that are pursuing what God has for them, they may not know what God has for them, or they do. What's just some advice that you'd give that you wish somebody would have given you, or whatever that may look like.
Um, let's see. I've thought about this like a lot because we used to do this in choir. The last day of school, they'd always have the seniors like give out their advice, and I was like, "Ooh, what am I gonna say? What's my like big thing?" So I'd say honestly to all the students, um, take what you have right now and use it, and stop taking it for granted or granted. So basically, just take what was that? Was that a car?
Motorcycle.
Nice.
Kids,
Um,
kids.
basically, just cut the negative things out and whatever's holding you back, because you know what it is and you know what's been holding you back for a month or a year, and just take that out. And it's hard, it's difficult, but once you do it, then it becomes everything kind of simplifies, and just focus on what you need to focus on and live in the moment. And just understand like right now is the time that I can be with God, and right now in this moment I can be in his presence and I can be creating a better relationship with him, and understanding that it's a day by day thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd probably give out. Plan ahead, basic stuff, understand what you want to do, kind of like understand your passions, I guess, for your calling and for your career choice. And just pursue God in all that you do, and treat school. I've heard it a lot. I know I mean, everyone else probably has, but they're always like, treat school as a missionary field. And while you're there, you really don't see it at all. But once you're out, you understand that there's a lot of lost people that you would walk by every day and you'd forget about, you wouldn't think about, which is, that hurts my heart whenever I think about the multiple times that I had just um, like negative conversations with some people just during classes, and I wouldn't speak life, and I wouldn't support them, and I wouldn't talk about Jesus to them, and understanding that I never got that opportunity, or I didn't take the opportunity out of my conversation that I was having with them to talk to them about Jesus, talk to them about their eternity. It can be really difficult, to go to that like level of a deep topic in a lighthearted conversation during classes. But uh, sometimes whenever you're with that certain friend or that just certain person, and that's kind of like that can be the mood, and you can kind of just set that, and you can kind of just lightly ask them, be like, hey, do you know Jesus? Hey, do you want to know Jesus? Or like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just sharing a love and showing more love, Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna like go into an entire talk here.
Go
Goodness.
for it. Go for it.
So
You
for
got time.
me, like during high school, during like freshman and sophomore year, coming up from, under you and under Cora and understanding that I had like a life in ministry, and I felt like I was really prideful in that, and I was really prideful that I was like, oh, I know God, and I know like I have a set relationship with Him, and I have an amazing calling and all this different stuff, and I like took a lot of pride in that, and I became really judgmental during my like freshman and sophomore years, which was a very dumb thing to do, and on like I regret that very deeply, that I just thought that I was hot stuff, and I thought that I was an amazing man for God, and I was like gonna do some great stuff, and I wouldn't talk to some people because of that, and I wouldn't, and it set like a certain standard whenever I talked to other people, and that they would understand. They're like, oh, this guy's the Christian guy. He's the like judgmental Christian guy, so I can't really talk to him. I can't really open up to him.
Yeah.
And even playing soccer, I saw it a lot, and it really hurt me because I had one guy that joined in sophomore year, or I joined in sophomore. He joined in junior year, and we kind of knew each other a little bit, but not a lot. And he was kind of wasn't the greatest kid, and he went to parties and stuff, and I didn't do that. And he knew that I was a Christian guy, and I was a little judgy. But so my junior year, he kind of set that, and he didn't really talk to me. And whenever he did talk to me, it was kind of mean, and I was kind of mean back. So it was kind of like a push and pull type thing. And then my senior year, I just really got a hold of that, and I was like, I need to just love people instead of judging them so much. And I'm like, I need humility, and that was a learning process during like just last winter, and it was a learning process for me just to gain humility. Like I was talking with my family, with Cora and my mom, about some stuff in the church that I was mad about, and then Cora looked at me and she's like, "You are way too prideful right now in this." And she's like, "You need to pray to be humble right now." And I was like, "No, I don't. That's dumb." And that night, like legit, I was like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." It was like, I'm the most humble person I know, right? Everybody says that. That night, though, I go and I start reading my Bible, and I read in, uh, I think it was in Matthew, I believe, and it's Jesus, and he's talking to somebody. I don't even remember, and he says, um, he talks about how whenever you go to someone's house, then you should always sit at the lowest seat so that you are humbled below everyone else. And therefore, when you do that, the owner of the house, the host of the party, they will see you at the humble seat and they'll say, "No, no, no, friend, you are not to sit at the humble seat. You're to sit at the high seat." And they move you up, right? And he says, those who are humble will be exalted, and those who exalt themselves will be humbled. And that was the exact thing I was thinking about. And I was sitting there. I was like, wait. I was like, did Jesus literally just tell me to be humble? Or like 5 minutes ago, I was like, Cora, I'm humble. I'm fine. I'm not prideful at all. And then Jesus is like, hey, bud, you're a little prideful there. I was like, okay, all right. And I was like, I really took that. So, I grew in that. I grew, and then gaining the humility back with soccer and my friend. So I just showed a lot of love this last season to my fellow teammates, and I know I wasn't like the best player, as in like my skill was terrible, and I didn't really care that much. I was just playing for the fun of it with my friends, and I always thought like everybody didn't like me at all because I was bad and I was like the judgy guy. But during the soccer banquet, that same guy that I didn't talk to and that went to parties and stuff, he was like, "Hey, can we get a picture?" I was like, "Wait, you want a picture with me?" Like I thought that was the weirdest thing ever because I thought he didn't like me at all, but then turned out like, uh, he kind of liked me, so it was cool. And it was cool to see like that love that I showed during that season. I guess changed my heart and changed his heart, and we kind of grew together a little bit, and just gave me an opportunity just to talk to him and share, just love him. So, what was I talking about before that?
Take the opportunities that you can. Love people.
Yeah, take the opportunities that you can. Honestly,
Yeah.
Again, so in choir, I was freshman year. I came into the chamber choir at Hillcrest because that was the only class that was open, and my the choir director knew Cora and you, so you guys were, really good singers. And she's like, and then the choir director was like, well, if your siblings are great singers, then you deserve to be there too. So I was one of 3 freshmen that were in the chamber choir, and the chamber choir was all juniors and seniors. So, I thought I was hot stuff again, just going on that. And then one of the freshmen, I never really liked, and I never got to be good friends with him until this year. And I kind of judged him because I just knew that he was, he wasn't a Christian. So I was like, I can't deal with him. I can't be a friend with him. But this year, my senior year, I was in, a few classes with him, and I just got to be one-on-one with him and talk with him. And I understood like his heart, and I understood his background story. And like, he comes from a broken family, and his mom does not care about him. His dad's gone. He basically pays the bills for his entire family. He provides for his sister, and he has to, work all the time. And I sat at a table in statistics with 2 guys that was their story, and they had to work to pay the bills, and they had to work to provide for themselves. And I never had to feel that because God's blessed me with an amazing family that'll provide for me. But I got to see like that side of it, and I got to see just something that I never saw before, and see something that I've never experienced. And I got to like empathize and sympathize with them, and get to just understand their pain of constantly having to work. Because I always thought that, I always saw that they never did their homework, and I was like, oh, these guys are just slackers, and they don't care about anything. They don't care about themselves. And then come to find out, they're actually working like right whenever they get out of school. They work from 4 to 1 or 2 in the morning, and then they get home and they have to finish all that homework and then show back up to school at like 7. And I'd never understood that, and I thought that was ridiculous. But they had to do it to pay the bills, and I was like, all right, I understand. I understand your point now, and I understand why you never get your homework done, and I feel really bad for you. But so then I, help them get their homework done, not by giving them answers, but just by pushing them along and encouraging them to. I help them out with, lessons they didn't learn and stuff like that. And I'm really good friends with those guys now, and it's really awesome to be able to do that. Be friends with them now that I just got one single class to really talk to them and understand them and be one-on-one with them. And it was really good and really humbling for me just to have these friends that I've never really noticed and seen as friends throughout like the first 3 years of high school. I never saw them, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be friends with them because those are bad kids. Yeah. And then come to find out they're actually like super nice guys whenever I got to sit down and talk with them. So I think tying it all back to being a student, I think don't be quick to judge people, and go to the people that are hurting and just talk with them and talk with those people. Just show a love to them, because a lot of them may not see a Christian love, and they may not be able to experience that. They may have only seen like a judgmental Christian. So this can be a very vital opportunity just to show love to them, and they'll see that, and they're going to say, oh, you're a really nice guy, you're loving. And they're going to look at it and be like, he's also a Christian. And they think, maybe years down the road, or maybe the next day, they're going to think there's something connected there. And then they're going to go and see what the thing about Jesus is all about, just because of the love that you may have shown one day. So again, seize the opportunities that you have and live in the moment, and understand, there's so much around you that you can show love to. And there's so many people that, need to know about Jesus in your immediate vicinity in a school. And you can instantaneously in that moment, you can find one of those people and just go love them, go support them, go just show them, compliment them about something, or tell them about Jesus. And through that, you can use what doesn't really seem like a giant missions opportunity or a giant ministry field, just becomes one instantaneously whenever you start looking for the opportunities and you start praying for God to use you in those ways. So, yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good to understand. We don't know. There's so much more to people's stories than what we see.
Yeah.
most of the time people are icebergs. You know, you got a little bit on top is what you see, but there's a lot of depth there. So that's
Yeah.
definitely something to learn in ministry, man. Like just to be able to sit there and say, you know, there's a reason why this person is acting the way that they do. There's a reason why this person, you know, whenever we're in ministry, like there's a reason why this person keeps coming to the altar every single week, you know, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, man. That's so good. Such a great challenge for students, you know, to seize the opportunity. Don't be so, you know, caught up in your own righteousness that you miss out on opportunities to change someone else's eternity. That's so good, man.
Yeah.
So final question for us before we hop off here, but
Right.
final question. This is kind of a lighter one, but what's one thing that you're gonna do, like once, I know that kind of stay-home orders almost being lifted, you know, you're able to go out a little bit more. Once it's all done, all lifted, life gets back to, you know, whatever semblance of normal that we have now. What's the one thing you're gonna do? One place you're gonna go eat, you know, whatever that is.
So one big plan that I've had for years is to do a thing called Nug Night, where we just get a bunch of chicken nuggets and we go ham on a bunch of chicken nuggets. But it's never happened, so I don't know why. So now I have opened this up to my life group at church. I was like, hey, the next time we all meet after quarantine, we have to do the Nug Night. And it has to be an annual thing that we do every single year. And we just get as many Chick-fil-A nuggets and McDonald's nuggets. And that's it, because those are the only two good nuggets. And we're just going to get all those. We're going to get like 1,000 of them and just start going ham and have a big
Wendy's got
party.
spicy nuggets, man.
What? Did you say
Wendy's got spicy nuggets?
Nah. That's nah. Maybe get like the Tyson, just an entire bag of like the Tyson nuggets from Walmart. Just eat those frozen nuggets. That's the way it
Puppies in
goes.
the oven.
But yes, I am super excited to just be able to hang out with friends again. Probably. So just once summer starts, I'm just gonna go hang out with them every single day. Once everything releases, and just drive over to their house and just come in and lay down on their couch and start playing with their dog. Something like that, you know.
There you go.
Just hang out. I'm super excited. But yeah, that's my plans.
Awesome.
So Nug Night.
Nug Night.
If you guys want to be a part of it, just you know, celebrate it on your own and make it an annual thing to celebrate the end of the COVID-19 quarantine.
There we go.
There you go. Great ideas.
Nug Night. National Nug Night.
National Nug Night. There you go.
That'd
be perfect.
What'd you say?
It'll be perfect.
Perfect. Great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you so much for doing this Zoom call with us and just for doing this Tuesday talk. Man, love you. You know, you're my little brother, so of course I love you. But you know, super proud of what you're doing and what God's doing in and through you, man. Like you're killing it where you're at. You know, so you're doing a really great job, and love you so much for that. But yeah, thanks for being on this with us.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Cool.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, well, that wraps up our Tuesday talk for this week. We've got a couple more Tuesday talks coming at you in the future, but thank you so much for being a part of this week's Tuesday talk. Don't forget, this Thursday night, we're still doing our Zoom Devo, so you want to be a part of that, 7 o'clock. If you need that link, hey, message us. We'll be sure to get that to you. But love you guys so much, continuing to pray for you daily. We can't wait to be back together, for real back together. But right now we'll settle for Zoom calls and being able to check in over text. So love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.